All right, everyone, welcome back to another Watch and Talk here, Automotive Anatomy. I hope you're doing amazing. But based on the title, you guys know that I'm going to be discussing an individual who, he came up on the radar a bit back on Instagram, as you know how some of the TikToks go over to Instagram. I do have a TikTok, but I don't really use it. I think I started using TikTok maybe like a year ago to upload some videos, and at the time my phone would overheat, my computer would overheat, so I couldn't get the clips. Pretty much I was using TikTok for another platform to do short clips of the channel, and then obviously grow the audience or whatever. But for those reasons I stopped, and I guess I could go back to TikTok and up those, but meh. But anyways, you know how a lot of people repurpose the videos from TikTok and then put them on Instagram. So for whatever reason on Instagram, this dude Andrew Tate kept popping up on my feed, and obviously the algorithm, it feeds people what they want to see and blah blah. Well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Patrick Bet-David. He's an entrepreneur in the insurance world. Now he sold that company, and he's into Value Entertainment, which is the YouTube channel, his PVD podcast, and good stuff like that. And so I like to watch him because he does have a lot of people that come on his show. And there's times that I disagree with Pat David, but I love the fact that he's willing to bring people. He's willing to ask the hard questions. He's willing to, he has a co-host that kind of aligns more with my views on different things, and I'm glad that he has them there, because then that opens up the space for discussion. Well, obviously he's a businessman, and I didn't know anything about this Andrew Tate guy, and I like to listen to podcasts, and so it came up on my feed, and for the first time I was like, you know what, let me hear this out, because all I've heard little snippets of this dude, and he's very vocal about the way he sees different things. I'll give you guys a story about that he mentioned that he tells his woman to make him 2 coffees, and that the woman's like, well, why do you make me do 2 coffees? You didn't even drink the second one. And he's like, well, because it's almost like your job to serve me, just the way it is my job to protect you. And if an intruder comes in the house and wants to hurt you, then I have to die for you, because that's my job as a protector. Now, obviously, I agree and disagree with some of the things that he has to say, but I appreciate the 4-hour long podcast really opened up the room for me to gather a little bit more information. Do I like the guy? Meh. I like some of the stuff that he had to say. Do I dislike some of the things that he says? Yeah, especially the way he I guess comes across it. I'm okay with disagreeing with people, but you have to kind of say in a positive manner, I guess, respectful manner. And it was just interesting to me that he definitely is very vocal. And so for those that may not know who Andrew Tate is, I don't know who he is either. I don't know how he has made his money, but he has a lot of money. He was coming out in social media on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And I don't want to say that this is his only purpose, but one of his major purposes is teaching men how to be men. And that's even a controversial thing to say, just to say, men teaching men. He believes that we lack masculinity. I'm pronouncing it wrong. Masculinity from men nowadays, and then he goes into big detail about he calls it the Matrix, the social media platform, and so he obviously dislikes a few people in the social media world. One of the things I personally didn't like was they spend so much time talking about Logan Paul, and I know that brings views and things like that, and I'm assuming that's the reason why the host Pat Bet-David did it, because he understands social media. That's the reason why he flew all the way to Armenia, where this dude Andrew Tate's at, to interview him, because I guess he was getting too trendy, that people had a negative taste to what he was saying, and so this whole deplatforming happened. And so I guess Facebook was the first one to cut him off, and then Instagram and all these other different platforms, they ban him, right? And so obviously Patrick, being the entrepreneur that he is, he's like, dude, I'm on a flight. So he took a flight with his co-host to Armenia, and they interview him, and that interview to this moment, it went viral for the size of the podcast. So it was a great business move. In the long run, is that gonna help Patrick? I don't know. I don't really, I just like to listen to conversations, and this is actually the first conversation he's had other quote unquote controversial people, and I don't really listen to those. I listen more to like the business, the mindset ones, and so it was interesting to hear him, just because. Do I agree with a lot of things that Andrew had to say? Yeah, I think I found myself agreeing with a lot of it. Like keeping a small circle, I do agree with that. I think the bigger you get, the more people will want to be part of your quote unquote circle, and maybe they don't have the best intentions for you. I think the biggest issue that I have with this individual is the way he goes in about sharing his point of view. Comes off very assertive and almost non-apologetic, and obviously that's his personality. I think for me, the fact that he's true to himself, good for him, and that's something that he kept saying, that he won't settle for what people want him to say or do. He's not gonna work for the matrix. He's not gonna soften his point of view on different things. He does admit that he maybe should have addressed them differently. He takes the time to address a lot of the things that had been going on social media, like little snippets, like just problems that he had in the past. Now you guys may be wondering, well, why are you talking about Andrew Tate? The reason I'm talking about it is because Joe Rogan one time mentioned that, and it was when he was going through some issues, was that when you don't have a following, nobody cares what you say. Once you have a following, you gotta be very careful with what you say, and it's true. The truth is that is the truth. I don't necessarily agree with everything that goes on in the world, but I also don't have a problem with most of the stuff that goes out in the world, if that makes sense. I don't necessarily agree with, I don't know, just different topics politically, but I don't dwell on them. I don't know. It to me is more like I'm too busy trying to focus on my personal life that I don't have time to think about politics. I don't have time to think about the news. I don't watch the news. Like, my life is not getting any better with me knowing who got stabbed or the violence that happens in California and New York, things like that. Is it important to know? I'm assuming, sure, but it doesn't drive me. And so that's the thing. Like, for me, I don't really get caught up on this whole, like, one of the things that Andrew was mentioning was we're soft as men, and we want to be respected. And he just went over and over about men just want to be respected. I would choose someone who respects me over someone who loves me if he had a choice between somebody who he was gonna be like on a romantic relationship and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I had a good chat with my wife afterwards. I was like, I disagree with some of the points he has to say, and I just don't feel like, I feel like a true man doesn't have to be loud. I mean, to me, a man is someone who is respectful, is caring, yeah, sure, protector or whatever. But even then, like, to me, I on a personal level, I feel like the stereotypes or the gender roles have changed over time, and I'm personally okay with that. I know some people that, some men that are stay-at-home dads, I don't see them as less than a man. Like, to me, that's great. Like, if your wife is being a great partner and they're supporting, they're helping financially, then you're taking care of the house, you're taking care of the kiddos, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys agree, but to me, it's a much harder job. Like, honestly, I've seen, the work that it takes to take care of little kids, and I'd rather go to work 9 out of 10 times. And some of you guys can attest to that. I know my buddy Rafa, his baby's already close to a year, and he's like, man, it's a handful of times. I'm like, how do my his wife was doing it, and it's difficult, and I've heard it from so many different people, man. Taking care of a kiddo is extremely difficult. So the idea that that's a woman's job, I don't subscribe to that idea, and I don't subscribe to the idea that a man is less of a man because he is not quote unquote providing the old school way. There's so many different ways. I feel like men can be man by being very vulnerable, and I think that's one of the challenges that this individual Andrew Tate is having to deal with. He doesn't want to seem weak or vulnerable, and to me it's like it's almost counterproductive. I feel that again, and that's why I'm my reaction towards what he has to say. I agree that you do have to have a small group of people that really have the best interest in you. I disagree with the whole idea of like just because I want to, I need you to make me 2 coffees. No, I don't know. You make me, you can help me with 1 coffee, and I'll make my own the next time. And not to say, if my wife was here, she would be like, you don't do anything, but I do. I cook here and there, and I try to help her out because she also works. She works, and then she comes and takes care of the house, and she cooks and she cleans, and so it's my responsibility to take on some other additional tasks as well. That's just the way I see it. It works for me. I feel that that's the best way my marriage has been working. I'll admit, could I do more? Of course. There's times where, I don't help her with packing lunch, and she's the one that cleans the house, and she'll tell me like, hey, I need you to do something because you haven't done anything. And honestly, it's funny that I'm washing her car because that's legit like the only thing that I feel that I do for her. And I can't even be like, oh, I bring home the bacon, the paycheck, because she makes more than I do. So, it's one of those interesting things. And so Andrew was mentioning that his content or his persona, his platform was taken out because he is considered a threat or his messages were dangerous, whatever. And so he argues that it's the opposite. He's teaching men, 18 to 30-year-olds, how to be men and how to conduct themselves as men, and etc. etc. Well, I mean, he also claims that he doesn't really care about social media as much, and it doesn't bother him, and that it was a mistake by social media platforms to deplatform because now he's more famous. Maybe that's what I'm talking about him on a Washington Talk. But I can definitely hear that there is a lot of pain that his social media got banned. Let's be honest. You work hard to build something, and all of a sudden it gets taken out of you. It's hurtful. And towards the end of the conversation, I actually, believe it or not, guys, I listened to a 4-hour podcast in a span of 2 days. Yes, I'm not that crazy. I could hear like, man, this guy grew up with a lot of trauma. He started sharing stories about his dad, and one of them that really caught my attention was his dad was in the military, but then he decided to play chess professionally. So he was out and about. I don't remember the timeline exactly, but long story short, he was out for many months. Comes home, I think after 3 or 4 months, he hadn't seen him, and that same day or a day before, Andrew's mom took him to get a haircut. Mom was complaining that she didn't like the way the haircut was done. So when dad comes home the day or the next day, it's just normal conversation. It's like, yeah, they cut his hair really bad, and so I guess Andrew was like, yeah, I don't like the way they cut my hair. So I think within hours of just being there, he hasn't seen his family in months. This guy just loses it. He just loses it, and it's like, I trusted you with my son, and you're turning him into I don't remember the word he used, but he was in essence saying like he's complaining about a haircut. Nobody cares about haircuts. You should be a man, and etc. So obviously this started at a young age. So I guess the next day he takes him to the barber place and shaves his entire head. They go bald, and so even Andrew was like, yeah, I get sentimental about it. That's traumatic. And now I'm like, dude, like that obviously was extremely that's big trauma in your life, man. Like, that's crazy. And now you're almost continuing that same pattern, but now you have a social media platform. And so obviously now the more you talk to somebody, the more you understand where they're coming from. We're all shaped differently for different things that happen in our lives. We all see different things because of upbringings. And I think when we lack perspective and open-mindedness, I think that's how you end up in a box like Andrew in this case. I'm not saying by any chance that he's wrong, nor that I'm saying that he's right. but I do feel like as a society, not just men, women, we need to be open-minded. We need to understand that we all hear, see things, experience, feel things super different, and it could be the same exact thing. I mean, for all, like, tying it back to cars, some of us, we love Civics, we love Integras. There's people that drove Civics and Integras when they were, starting their career, or they were working at a fast food, and once they got their quote unquote, like, big paying job, they were like, I'm out of this. I'm buying myself a Lexus. I'm buying myself a nice car, and they will never ever go back to a Honda Civic or Integra. There's people like Rob from Canada, big supporter, man. He's always on his EF hatch, his EF sedans, and I'm sure he can afford or buy a brand new car, but he just doesn't want to because he likes the old school body shapes, like a lot of us. So it's being open-minded. It's being understanding that not everybody who likes certain things is wrong, or that's, I think that's where he lost the perspective, and I think that's the reason why he lost his social media, because I think he can still deliver that same message that he's trying to do without making other people feel bad. And I think there's people that can do that. There's people that can definitely address a circumstance. One of the examples that they use on the interview, in the podcast, was a very interesting one that Andrew said, I don't have TikTok because it minimizes attention span, and it's feeding you things that it's making society dumber, in essence. Don't quote me, it was something like that. And I kind of agree to that, because if you pay attention to even Instagram, they kind of really, they went away from pictures. Now they want you to do reels and videos, and they want that short span. YouTube did it with shorts. They want that quick short span. They want more views. They want you to it's almost like 7 seconds in, 3 seconds in, if it's not good, they're gonna switch in. The algorithm keeps feeding you things that you like. Most of the time is violence, something sexual, or something to do with money, and that seems to be the most common thing. Negativity, sells and things like that. So I kind of agree with that point. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I've said it many times. I use social media as a tool, and that tool is for me to find people to interview, and a way for me to continue to grow the brand. That's Instagram for me. Am I on Instagram browsing, seeing what people are up to? Very little. And even when I do catch myself doing that, I'm like, what am I doing in my life? And I'm like, okay, I'm out. But yeah, there is a lot of time that I would like to use the word I'm wasting, because I am on social media. Is it making people more dumb? Not necessarily. How many of us have used social media for our advantage? I know I personally, I'm not the most mechanically person inclined, but I've been taught by so many things on YouTube Academy to fix something, and I've saved myself some money. And so I use social media as a platform, as a tool to be able to fix an issue that I have. Now, if you're just there consuming, yeah, I can see how that could be, a waste of time, especially if you're watching, things that maybe not serve the best purpose, maybe. But even then, who am I to say that, you watching whatever you're watching is making you dumber? No, I can't say that. That would be out of my scope. And so I think that's part of the reason, right? There's certain people in this world that want to be controversial, and they're okay being controversial, and so they'll take on that role. But just understand that now you're subject to, the whether it's getting your platform deleted or getting attacked or whatever, it comes with the territory. I mean, we last time we discussed Joey Lee and his what do you call it? His website. And I remember one of his podcasts. When he was doing podcasts with his buddy, I like when he shared a story. He was like, there was one time that he posted something on the website, and people disliked it, and there was this gentleman who went up to him at a car show and was super disrespectful, like, oh yeah, you think you're so right, blah blah blah. And that he's like, this guy was just like almost wanted me to fight. And he's like, all I did was put my hands behind my back, holding my GoPro, and just heard him out. I said, okay, man, like whatever you say, you know, like I don't, and so what I'm trying to say is that once you have a platform, whatever that platform looks like, or like let's say a leadership role, once you say something, just understand that you're going to be offending people left and right. Whether you say something as the day is beautiful, you know, someone's going to complain, well, yeah, how about all the violence in the world? How beautiful is, you know, it's like there's always going to be something that's going to trigger people. And so this Andrew Tate guy, I don't agree nor disagree with all his points. I think obviously, like anybody, is a little hurt that his social media got blocked, but at the same time, you know, like, yeah, like that's what happens when you trigger people. Now there's other people like, you know, myself, who I don't have a big social media following, but in a way has enabled me and continues to enable me to be able to communicate with a lot of you, and to my advantage, I've been able to meet a lot of cool people that allow me to, you know, interview them and spend a good time on a Saturday and a Sunday. And so for that reason, I'm super thankful for social media. So I mean, that's my take on it. What do you guys think? I don't go and listen to a 4-hour podcast, but I just wanted to share my point of view. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Catch you guys in the next one. I appreciate the love and the support. Peace out, everyone.